The silence in the old house wasn't empty. It was filled with a quiet rhythm of companionship, a cadence perfected over 14 years. It was the soft click of Barnaby's nails on the worn wooden floor, the gentle sigh he'd release before settling into his favorite patch of afternoon sun, the almost imperceptible thump of his tail against the sofa when Eleanor entered the room. Barnaby, a Labrador mix whose once glossy black coat was now generously frosted with gray, particularly around his soft muzzle and soulful eyes, was more than Eleanor's dog. He was her shadow, her confidant, the furry, steadfast witness to the chapters of her life. They had found each other when both were younger, Eleanor navigating the uncertain paths of early adulthood. Barnaby, a clumsy, overgrown pup overflowing with boundless energy and affection. He'd been there through career changes, relocations, the quiet joy of marrying her late husband, Michael, and the profound ache of losing him 5 years ago. Through it all, Barnaby's presence was a constant, a warm weight leaning against her legs, a wet nose nudging her hand, a pair of loving brown eyes offering silent, unwavering support. He was the keeper of her routines, the recipient of her mumbled thoughts, the living, breathing embodiment of unconditional love. But 14 years is a long time in the life of a Labrador mix. The energetic bounds had long since softened into a slow, deliberate gait. The enthusiastic greetings at the door were now replaced by a sleepy lift of the head and that gentle tail thump. His hearing was fading, his eyesight clouding slightly. More recently, a persistent cough had joined the symphony of his aging, and rising from his bed after a nap had become a visible, sometimes painful, effort. Eleanor watched him, her heart aching with a love so deep it felt physical, intertwined with a growing, inescapable premonition of grief. She saw the changes, the subtle signs of his decline, and though she pushed the thought away, she knew their time together was borrowing from borrowed time. The vet visits became more frequent. Arthritis management, medications for his cough, which was diagnosed as related to his aging heart. Careful monitoring. Dr. Ramirez was kind, gentle, realistic. "He's an old man, Eleanor," she'd said softly during their last visit. After examining Barnaby, who endured the poking and prodding with his usual stoic patience, we're focusing on quality of life now, keeping him comfortable, happy. Eleanor understood the unspoken message. Quality of life, comfortable, happy. These became her guiding principles, her sole focus. Barnaby's world, already centered around her, shrank further, becoming a cocoon of gentle care and quiet affection. She adjusted routines to match his slowing pace. Walks became slow, meandering sniffs around the familiar garden instead of treks down the lane. Stairs were managed with a supportive sling she bought online, or more often, by Eleanor simply carrying his surprisingly heavy, trusting weight in her arms. His kibble was softened, sometimes replaced entirely with hand-cooked chicken and rice when his appetite waned. She spent hours just being with him. Reading aloud on the sofa, Barnaby's heavy head resting warm in her lap. His soft snores a comforting counterpoint to her voice. Sitting beside his bed on the floor, when he seemed restless at night, murmuring soft reassurances, stroking his velvety ears until his breathing evened out. She found herself talking to him more than ever, not just narrating her day, but sharing memories, whispering gratitude. "Remember that time you stole the entire roast chicken off the counter, you rascal?" She'd chuckle softly, scratching behind his ears. "Thank you for being here when Michael passed. I don't know what I would have done without you." Barnaby would look up at her, his cloudy eyes filled with that familiar, unwavering affection. He didn't understand the words, perhaps, but he understood the tone, the love, the deep connection that transcended language. He offered what he always had, his quiet, comforting presence. The decline, when it steepened, was swift. One morning, Barnaby struggled desperately to stand, his back legs trembling uncontrollably. He looked at Eleanor with confusion and a flicker of panic in his eyes. The spark, the gentle light that defined him, seemed dimmer. He ate little, drank less. The effort to simply exist seemed to exhaust him, Eleanor knew. Her heart fractured, but her resolve solidified. She would not let him suffer. She would not cling selfishly to his presence at the expense of his peace. Keeping him comfortable, happy, that meant knowing when to let go. It was the final, most painful act of love she could offer him. She called Dr. Ramirez. Through tears she couldn't quite suppress. She scheduled the appointment, not at the clinic, with its cold tables and unfamiliar smells, but here, at home. Here, in his favorite sunbeam, surrounded by the scents and sounds of the life they had shared. The day arrived cloaked in a surreal, heavy calm. Eleanor spent the morning cherishing every second. She lay on the floor beside Barnaby's bed, stroking his soft fur, whispering everything left unsaid, though he surely knew it all already. She shared tiny pieces of his ultimate forbidden treat, cheese, which he accepted with a flicker of his old enthusiasm. She helped him outside for one last slow, supported walk around the perimeter of the rose bushes, his nose twitching faintly as he took in the familiar scents. When Dr. Ramirez arrived, her presence was quiet, compassionate. There was no rush. She spoke softly to Barnaby, her hands gentle as she explained the procedure to Eleanor again, ensuring she was ready. Eleanor nodded, unable to speak past the lump in her throat. She knelt on the floor beside Barnaby, cradling his gray head in her lap. His favorite worn blanket was tucked around him. The afternoon sun streamed through the window, warming them both. Dr. Ramirez administered the first injection, the sedative. Barnaby sighed, a long, slow release of tension, and relaxed completely against Eleanor, his eyes closing peacefully. "He's just very sleepy now, Eleanor," Dr. Ramirez murmured. "He's not feeling any pain." Eleanor stroked his head, tears flowing freely now, dripping onto his soft fur. "It's okay, my boy," she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. "It's okay to go. You've been the best boy, the very best. Thank you for everything. I love you so much." She continued murmuring to him, memories tumbling out between loving reassurances. As Dr. Ramirez administered the final injection, Barnaby's breathing, already shallow, grew softer, gentler, until, with one last, almost imperceptible sigh, it simply stopped. The silence that descended then was absolute, profound. It wasn't the comfortable silence of companionship. It was the stark, echoing silence of absence. The weight of his head in her lap felt simultaneously immense and empty. The warmth began to fade. Eleanor stayed there for a long time, holding him, weeping quietly, rocking gently. She traced the familiar shape of his ears, the soft fur of his muzzle, saying goodbye not just to the dog, but to 14 years of shared history, to a love that had shaped her life in countless ways. Dr. Ramirez waited patiently, respectfully, giving Eleanor the space she needed before gently helping her make the final arrangements. The days that followed were shrouded in grief. The house felt cavernously empty. The silence was deafening. Everywhere Eleanor looked, there was an absence. The empty space on the rug where his bed used to be. The leash hanging unused by the door. The water bowl gathering dust. Habit would make her glance down to check on him, only to be met with emptiness. Meals felt incomplete without his hopeful presence nearby. The ache of loss was a physical presence, heavy and constant. Grief, she learned, was the price of deep love. And her love for Barnaby ran soul deep. Slowly, amidst the waves of sadness, moments of warmth would surface. Vivid memories that brought a tearful smile. Barnaby chasing squirrels with youthful abandon. Barnaby curled up asleep with his favorite squeaky toy. Barnaby looking up at her with those infinitely loving eyes. He was gone, but the imprint he left on her heart, on her soul, was indelible. The story of their life together, culminating in that final, heart-wrenching goodbye, wasn't just about loss. It was a testament to the profound, enduring power of the bond between a human and a dog. It was about loyalty, companionship, and a love so pure it demanded the ultimate act of letting go with grace and compassion. It was a story that truly, deeply touched the soul, leaving behind not just sorrow, but an enduring legacy of love.